Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another Qualifier playing event for the Wilds of Eldraine Qualifier weekend. This is going to be a best of 3 Wilds of Eldraine sealed event where we are out after a single match loss, but if we can make it to 4 wins, we'll gain entry into the upcoming Qualifier weekend, which is a tournament where you are competing for entry into an upcoming Arena Championship. So some nice high stakes competitive limited here. Going to be playing some Wilds of Eldraine sealed. Without further ado, let's just bust open these packs and see what we get to play with today. So here are the rares for our sealed pool, and they're a bit all over the place color-wise, because Elusive Otter is basically a green rare. The very powerful half of this card is the green half. So we've got a very solid white board wipe, a very solid blue evasive threat, very solid green kind of buff spell, and a nice aggressive red rare. So stuff all over the place in terms of colors for powerful cards. Apprentice's Folly can be pretty great as well if you get some bargain cards to sacrifice the Folly before it makes you sacrifice your clones. So that's another potentially good card. And the dual land can help us get there with the Apprentice's Folly. So pretty decent rares here, but it is going to really come down to where we have these solid commons and uncommons. See what else we can really fill the deck out with, and where we go from there. So looking at our colorless cards, as I like to do at the start, we have almost no mana fixing. We have a single Scarecrow guide for colorless fixing. That's it. No Prophetic Prism, no Evolving Wilds, no Edgewall in, none of those premium fixers. So not looking like a great sealed pool for splashing, but green could change that if we play green as a main color. Green usually has at least a little bit of fixing, so there is that. Not much else going on in colorless. Ariette's Tempting Apple is solid filler for any aggressive deck, and Candy Trail is solid filler for any slower deck, so we'll keep those in mind, but nothing insane colorless-wise. When it comes to multicolored cards, cards that could be pushing us into a specific 2-color pair, we do see a Johan to go alongside our Apprentice's Folly, so if we have a lot of good blue-red cards, specifically a lot of instants and sorceries in blue and red that are pretty great, then this can turn into a pretty good reason to be in the color pair as a nice card draw engine. So keep Johan in mind. Totentan's gonna be good if we have a lot of black-red aggressive rat stuff going on. If we already have that, I'm already gonna be interested in playing the colors, so nothing insane going on, colorless or multicolored. So let's take a look at all of our colors individually, see where the best cards, the best mana curves, the best synergies lie. And we'll start things off, as always, with white. And here we have an insane amount of non-creature spells, but a lot of them are more filler cards I'd really rather not run. Griffinary, only going to work with a ton of food tokens and a ton of life gain. Break the Spell, very narrow card, but it can be decent out of the sideboard. Return Triumphants look pretty bad with this low of a creature count, so unless we're playing a secondary color with a ton of creatures, this card is going to do very, very little for us. So that's another card I'm basically immediately considering cutting. Rest in Peace does literally nothing unless your opponent really needs their graveyard recursion. So technically it's a sideboard piece, but I highly doubt there will be a matchup where we're sideboarding that in. Plunge into Winter doesn't do much for the cost, nor does Solitary Sanctuary. Moment of Valor is narrow enough to be something I would rather keep in the sideboard, but because it does have that flexibility, we can main deck it if need be, but pretty much all of this I would prefer to immediately cut. And Stroke of Midnight's another card that really, really bad against aggressive decks, so I would prefer to side that in when I need it. Everything else can make the main deck, but some of it is a lot, well, not like a lot filler, some of it is pretty filler, like Unassuming Sage, Discerning Financier, Charmed Clothier, Dutiful Griffin. A lot of mainly just fillery stuff in white. We've obviously got the Expel the Interlopers, that's pretty incredible, but that's about it. We've got a really nice Hopeful Vigilance Stockpiling Celebrant for our best commons, pretty solid combat trick with Archon's Glory, decent removal with Grasp of Fate, and then everything falls off from there, just a bunch of fine filler creatures, some fine filler spells. White is looking okay. Checking out the blue now, we obviously have some very high card quality here, particularly off of just the Sleep Cursed Fairy, but we also have a nice Archive Dragon at the top of the curve, and a couple 3-drops that are really good with the bargain fodder. Tenacious Tome Seeker, if you can bargain for this card, is a 3-mana 3/2 that picks up an instant or sorcery when it comes into play, which is a really, really consistent, really cheap 2-for-1. Just a very good deal on that card. Diminisher Witch as well, really nice against the decks with some big creatures, so any green decks this has a great bargain card against. So pretty into the Witch as well. We've got a Stopgap, which is a nice bounce spell, and a couple Quick Studies for decent card draw. Blue looks pretty solid. There's definitely some more filler cards we'd prefer to cut, like the Moats, a couple Water Wings, a Living Lectern, even a Snare Master Sprite to an extent. But we've got some pretty nice cards going on. I love the Tome Seeker the Dragon, the Sleep Cursed Fairy. The Quick Studies are pretty decent. The Stopgap's pretty decent. I think blue's a little bit better than the white. Not dramatically so, because it's not like we have a great curve of creatures. It's not like we have a massive amount of cards that are above filler. There's still quite a bit of filler here, but it's definitely more good cards than our white has. Moving on to black, this is just a pretty low quantity of cards in general, and some of them are pretty filler. There's some black-red rats decks where you get enough tokens that Vampiric Rites can be cute. This is not looking like one of them, so Vampiric Rites probably gets cut. The double Ashiok's Reaper, another card. There's some cute synergies you can try to do with, but most decks, especially sealed pools, are just not going to have enough consistent enchantment cards going to the graveyard for this. The idea around it is that you want a lot of roll tokens, and you want your cards with those roll tokens to go to the graveyard often, or you want to bargain the roll tokens away. But we've got like 2 enchantments in black here. We've got 1 Wicked Roll and 1 Hopeless Nightmare, because we're not going to play the Vampiric Rites, so more often than not, these are going to be a 4-mana 3/3 that doesn't do anything, and you're not really getting a great deal until you've drawn 2 cards off of this thing. So it doesn't feel like it's going to be good, and that's going to drop us down to like 5 creatures, 4 non-creature spells. They're good cards. I like Monstrosity. I love Sweet Tooth Witch, Conceited Witch, love the Feed the Cauldrons and the Hopeless Nightmare, the Fell Horseman and Back for Seconds, decent late game recursion. These are pretty solid, but definitely I think below the rest of the cards here. But yeah, that quantity is quite low. Here we are now checking out the red, and we do have some great removal here as well. We have a Torch the Tower, a Stone Splitter Bolt, and a Cut-In. I like all 3 of those a lot, but I really love the Torch the Tower and the Cut-In. We've got decent card draw with Witch's Mark. We've got a nice aggressive, not a super nice curve, definitely not by like draft standards, but for sealed standards, this is a solid aggressive curve. 2 1-drops that are perfectly playable. The Battle Mouse at 2 mana, that's a great card. The Red Cap Thieves can help us do a little bit of splashing with those treasure tokens, which is nice. And then a couple Edgewall packs at 4 mana are great, give us some bargain materials, get us a wide board state, and a 2-headed Hunter to top it all off. I think red is our best color so far, because it's got creatures all around the curve. It's got enough cards that I would consider playable or above, that it has more playables than basically every other color. And there's still cards I'd prefer not to play, like Raid Bombardment with this few small creatures, Bespoke Battle Garb, just the dorky kind of equipment. Frantic Firebolt, probably don't have enough instants and sorceries. That's super good, especially when I already have Cut-In, Stone Splitter Bolt, and Torch the Tower being much more consistent removal. Gnawing Crescendo, probably my favorite of these 4, but also likely gets cut with this pile of cards. But yeah, like maybe Merry Bards, just because we have the 2 4-drops already. This is basically another 4-drop. But I think all of these would like 100% make the cut, and that's already more than every other color in terms of cards like that. And we have a Merry Bards that we might play. We have a Gnawing Crescendo we might play. Definitely liking the red. Last and hopefully not least, we do have green here. I don't think it's the least color, but it is certainly not as good as I would have hoped for, with the white, blue, and black just not being very exciting to me, because this is also just not very exciting to me. We do have the Gingerbread Hunter. That's probably the best card in the color and one of the best cards in the sealed pool. 2-for-1 adventures like this that can be a removal spell and then a big creature at the end of your curve are just excellent, so I'm a big fan of that. We've got solid fixing with a Root Rider Fawn and a Return from the Wilds, but that's the only fixing in our entire sealed pool outside of 1 Scarecrow, so not solid enough fixing that it's going to be easy to be splashing in a 3rd color, and certainly not enough to be playing full 3 color, which is awkward because none of our colors are incredibly deep. So when you're in that kind of position, you kind of need to be splashing something or just playing a 3-color deck up front, and I don't feel like our fixing supports it particularly well, so that's a bit awkward. Commune with Nature basically doesn't do anything. Toadstool Admirer is incredibly small for its cost, so these cards almost definitely get cut. Tempest Heart as well, not as big as I would want for the cost, and Beanstalk Worm's quite filler, but we could just run these more filler cards to get that creature count up. Then Uprising just does not have enough materials. There are 2 Power 4 greater creatures in our entire sealed pool, honestly. I mean, let's look. There's 3 of them? 4 of them? Okay, maybe we'll have like 4 in our deck if we're playing green, blue, red, and I play the 2-headed hunter and the Archive Dragon, but that's just not happening, so don't think a Rook's Uprising is going to be making the cut either. So those are like definitely cut, which leaves us with, again, a very low quantity of playables. The ones that are here are decent, especially Gingerbread Hunter, but that forces us to be green and black, or splash black off of the Return and the Fawn. Okay, I mean, green is an option, I'll say that, but it certainly doesn't stand out as like an incredible option or something that we have to be playing here. Well, you know, I did like the Sleep Cursed Fairy a lot. We've got double Quick Study, Tome Seeker, Stopgap being pretty nice, and blue as well. Maybe blue-red is the place to be. Red-green is like an option too. Red-black, we probably have too few black playables that really gets there, but this Restless Spire leads us towards red-blue. We get 2 more playables by being in that color pair. We get to play Johann and the Apprentice's Folly. Our red stuff's aggressive enough, we could play the apple as well if we need to. So if we go for the blue-red here, which probably just the best color pair, we get rat tokens out of the red to bargain away for all of our good blue bargain cards. And then we get some treasure tokens off of the Red Cap Thief to help with a little bit of splashing. So we splash a tiny bit of green for the Elusive Otter, so that ability plays really well for us. We're going to do any other splashing or just splash in that green adventure? I think it would be just the green adventure, because the only white card we want to splash is double white, which is pretty much impossible for our sealed pool to splash with the amount of fixing it has. In black, there's nothing worth splashing unless we really need removal. We can play some Feed the Cauldrons. And in green, the only card worth splashing is basically splashing 2 colors. We're splashing green and black for Gingerbread Hunter. So probably not. We're probably just 2 colors here, but I'll throw the Scarecrow Guide in as well for fixing the Elusive Otter, at least for now, until we go ahead and cut a bunch of stuff. So this is 51 cards, but we did say this before when looking at all of our colors. All of our colors have tons of cards that are basically instant cuts. So let's start off with the red ones here. We don't have a lot of rats, and the ones that we do get are often going to be used to bargain, so Raid Bombardment's not going to get there. Feels like Gnaw and Crescendo won't either. We do want to run a pretty high instant sorcery count for Johann, so Firebolt might actually be quite solid, but I don't love this Battle Garb equipment. It's 2 mana play, 2 to equip, that is a lot. What else do we have? Misleading Motes. We've got enough good just red burn spell style removal spells. I don't really want the blue dump it on top of their deck. Still want the Stopgap to up our bargain count. Treat this as a 2 mana bounce spell with the amount of rats that we have. Plus another bargain card means another way to sack the Apprentice's Folly before we have to sack our clones. So that feels very worth it. Yeah, I mean, looking at this already looks very reasonable. I think we're pretty happy to do a very quick deck build today and just kind of commit to this blue-red pile, because you've seen all the colors, you've seen our multicolored cards. There is nothing obviously very powerful in the sealed pool, so I highly doubt anything looks as good as this. I'm putting things together in my head. This feels like just the best we're gonna get. So let's chip away a few more creatures here and a few spells. Lectern's also pretty dirtily. I do like Diminisher Witch against the big green decks, but I don't do a ton against other decks. We might still keep it in here, actually, to up that bargain count with Apprentice's Folly. At the bare minimum, you can do that. Let's cut these 3. One thing that I do like that makes me a little bit considering, like, maybe splashing a tiny bit of white, Again, this sealed pool is really bad at splashing, though, especially non-green. We've got 1 guide, 2 treasure tokens, I guess, trying to get there. But we're super lucky. Get a stockpiling celebrant on board. That picks up the Apprentice's Folly. And then we can get 2 more tokens off of it before we bargain it away, which is really cute. But with the fixing available to us in this sealed pool, I don't think we can do it. There's no other treasure production. There's no other treasure production, no other fixing, unless we go into green. In which case now I have a different 3rd color, and then it gets, I have to splash in a 4th off of the fixing. Yeah, I don't think the sealed pool can support it, but that is a really cute combo with the Apprentice's Folly that's pretty fun. And one of the things that is really nice about it is you can even play the Celebrant first, and then play the Folly later. And then you can just clone the Celebrant on Chapter 2 of the Folly if your opponent can't kill your Celebrant before that. So it's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. I don't think we have many creatures to protect with Water Wings, and I can just protect them with Spell Stutter, which does more things. So I think I'm going to drop the double Water Wings here. We do have like 1 or 2 pretty important creatures, like Johan. Being able to protect Johan with Water Wings is nice, but that's about it. Archive Dragon, I guess. That's already got the ward to make them like tap out to kill it. I've already got a lot of non-creature spells in here. Yeah, I don't have a lot of room. Drop the double Water Wings. And then drop a dorky creature or 2. Maybe just 2 mana 1/1s. I like their abilities, but I guess we could cut the Otter Splash. Otter doesn't really do anything without Grove's Bounty. And we've got 3 green sources for it. We have 1 Scarecrow Guide, 2 treasures. Is that genuinely worth it? I could cut 1 Otter and 1 Spear Guard instead. I guess we see how good are we at bargaining without the Spear Guards, because the fact that that's 2 rats when they trade off is actually kind of a big deal, because we have a good amount of bargain. We're actually pretty bad at bargaining, aren't we? I do have 1 card that I always want to bargain away, the Apprentice's Folly, so that's a big hit for us with cards like Stopgap and Tome Seeker and Witch and Torch and Stone Splitter. I guess the thing that's really nice to consider is that I don't have that many cards that I need to bargain for them to be good. Torch the Tower is already going to be good. Stone Splitter Bolt's already going to be fine. Stopgap's already going to be fine. It's just the Tome Seeker and the Diminisher Witch that I have to bargain for them to be good. Especially the Tome Seeker. This thing gets an insane buff when it's bargained. So we have 2 rat tokens from 2 Edgewall packs, 2 treasure tokens from 2 Redcap Thieves. Technically, I could bargain a Scarecrow Guide away because it's an artifact, but that is not a good deal to bargain just a full-on actual card away. So that's like 5 bargain fodder, 2 rats, 2 treasures, 1 folly. Maybe 1 young hero roll, 6 bargain fodder. Actually, Battle Mouse doesn't even do all that much. Well, making our 2nd spell cheaper could lead to some really nice curves. But yeah, I don't think we're celebrating an insane amount. I guess Edgewall Pack does it by itself. Redcap Thief does it by itself. Diminisher Witch does it if it bargains. Okay, that's actually getting the +1/+1 an okay amount of the time. I do really like Witch's Mark with Firebolt, because it does fill that grave with the instant sorceries real quick. We could discard an instant or sorcery to draw 2, and then there's 2 sorceries in the grave immediately, which is very cute. Doesn't happen massively often, though. I weirdly think we might be dropping the Otter. The other thing that's kind of an issue about the Otter is, in Sealed, if our opponent has any instant speed removal and we don't have anything that needs to be killed yet, they're just going to hold on to that instant speed removal. Then the Otter gets really bad. So, like, the Otter's good when your opponent's, like, tapped out and you've got a bunch of mana to buff your board. But the Otter is also terrible when they have instant speed removal. I guess, no, because it targets multiple creatures. Because it targets multiple creatures, you can spread it out so they don't, like, kill the Grove's Bounty and the Otter itself. Yeah, this is weird. This is weird. I think I'm gonna run one otter, one spear guard, and maybe even cut a land here. But I don't know if I can do that. Average 2.9. I don't think I can actually cut a land here. Got a big 5, drop a big 6, drop a lot of 3s and 4s. Yeah, this last cut is difficult. It's a spear guard or an otter or a battle mouse, or I guess if I'm going to cut the otter, I might as well cut the scarecrow guide. Because I have double quick study and a bunch of instant speed burn, I like the spell stutter quite a bit in here. Yeah, maybe I just drop another spear guard. Run with this as the main deck. Seems fine. Doesn't look like a fantastic deck, but I don't think anything this sealed pool can do looks like a fantastic deck. All of our colors are just a little bit thin. And we don't have the fixing to go for like a 3-4 color pile. Just taking another look over everything. But I think blue-red nonsense, it is. Alright, here we have a look at the final deck list for today. We're a bit of a blue-red spells deck here with Johann as potential card draw engine if we have any instants or sorceries on top of our deck, and we have a decent amount of those. Got 9 of them that we could be drawing off of Johann here. We also have some solid bargain sub-themes, mainly with the Apprentice's Folly, where we can be duplicating some creatures, so it's like 2 clones in 1, as long as we can sacrifice this before Chapter 3 triggers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways to bargain it away before that Chapter 3 triggers. So ideally we're getting that combo going for Apprentice's Folly to be a bit of a bomb for us. And other than that, we've got some good evasive threats like Sleep Cursed Fairy and Archive Dragon at the bottom and top of the curve, respectively. And we're just grinding out average blue-red spells in between for the most part. So not an insane sealed pool or anything, but it looks like a pretty decent deck with a solid idea of what it wants to do generally. And hopefully that'll be enough for us as we cross our fingers and head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1, and this is a little bit of an awkward opener. Don't think it's worth a mulligan, but it is quite a bummer to have the Tome Seeker without bargain fodder. Might play it real slow here, because we don't have a lot of cards in our deck that can play a great aggressive game. We might play slow enough to where we just want to remove their first 2 threats that matter, and then just hold on to that Tome Seeker as long as we can. There's a Johann, and that could make that reasonable. There's a Sweet Tooth Witch for our opponent. We can Firebolt that. Save the Stone Splitter Bolt for something bigger. We do find the Edgewall pack for the bargain for Tome Seeker. That's a very big deal. So let's pass to their turn. This plays poorly against instant speed roll tokens like the 2 mana put a +1/+1 counter on something, but it plays well against sorcery speed roll tokens. They try to use the adventure to put a wicked roll onto the witch or something. And this will be really disgustingly in our favor. Alright, they're just going to tap out to throw food at us, so that's fine. Then we're just going to Firebolt the Witch. It might be better to Stone Splitter the Witch, because then Firebolt is 3 mana for 3 damage, and Stone Splitter would be 4 mana for 3 damage later. Although with a Tome Seeker, we're going to pick up an instant or sorcery soon, which is going to make the Firebolt smaller. Yeah, I guess we go for the Firebolt then. Ooh, a Witch's Mark though, well that's going to make the Firebolt bigger. So, do we play a Johann here? Hope they don't have removal, or just drop an Edgewall pack? I think I'm going to play the Edgewall pack here. Playing against a green-black deck here. Black has a lot of removal spells in this format, so I want to make sure that Johann doesn't just get insta-deleted. Scream Puff is the play. Get the big old 4/5 onto the board. And we are pretty good at grinding out the long game generally, so I think we're just taking a trade here. Probably into Monstrosity, since we can strand the Witch Stalker behind if we can clear out their bigger creatures. Can't kill the Scream Puff right now, but I can kill it next turn with the Bolt. I mean, I could kill it if I sack the rat to that bargain, but I want to sack this rat to the Tome Seeker's bargain, ideally. And do I even just do that right now? It's a pretty reasonable use of my mana this turn. I can do that and Witch's Mark here. But then I'd be discarding a land and hoping to draw a 6th land, because we want to Bolt for 5 next turn. It's not mana efficient, but I feel like I might just be bargaining away the rat to pick up Firebolt, and then just not even Witch's Marking, just to make sure I have a 6th land next turn with a Stone Splitter. Could also just slam down a Johann and block a Witch Stalker with it if they don't kill it. I don't know. I'm gonna go for the Tome Seeker here. The Firebolt's definitely going to be big enough to removal to kill almost anything we need it to, because we don't need to cast that as our next removal spell. We can wait till we play Bolt and Mark, and then this is going to be at least 4 damage. Ooh, Genealogist now onto the Scream Puff would be really bad for me. They put it on the Witch Stalker, though, which is a lot more fine. And it makes sense, because if they put it on the Witch Stalker, then I can't trade my Tome Seeker into it. It's kind of good for both of us that they put the Royal Roll on the Witch Stalker. So we'll kind of take 8 here, but fingers crossed, if they're out of cards, we kill a Scream Puff and neither Witch Stalker attacks, then our 3/2 trades into the Genealogist and we go from there. So do this while they're tapped out, and cross my fingers here that their last card in hand, or whatever they draw into, is not going to be just an immediate 4-power creature again. So if they don't slam down a 4-power creature, we're in a pretty stable position here, even if their last card is a removal spell to kill Tome Seeker. If it's not a removal spell that also like gives them a 4-power creature, we're fine. Yeah, last card's a removal spell. It's a removal spell that scries 2, though, which digs for their next 4-power creature. That's pretty bad. Okay, if the removal spell didn't scry, I'd be pretty happy here. But since it scries, if they scried into a 4-drop, we might just be dead. I suppose if I top deck a land, I could be okay. Dang. Alright, if I top decked a land here, dropping a 2/5 Johann and Firebolting the Genealogist would make me feel pretty safe, even if they slam down a 4-power creature. I don't think I have any plays that feel safe against them playing a 4-power creature at this point. Right, because I just Firebolt Genealogist, I only have 3 mana up, which isn't enough to play a creature. They play a 4-power creature and I'm taking 7 on board, I'm just dead. And I don't really have any better play. Right, like I can Quick Study and hold up the Firebolt so that I can kill one of the Witch Stalkers and stop slightly more damage, but I'd still take 6 on board if they play a 4-drop. Well, a 4-power creature. 4 from this and 2 from that. I'm not seeing any line that makes me not just dead to a 4-power creature. So just kill the Genealogist while we know they don't have like the hexproof trick might be what they're trying to draw onto. Probably should have Quick Studied during my turn in case I hit a land. What? They scried 1 to the top, 1 to the bottom, right? Did they misclick? Their top deck was a land. They scried land to the top, something else to the bottom? What is going on? Alright, well, we play Johann now. Try to stabilize from here. And 2/1 just doesn't do any amount of blocking, so let's just Witch's Mark. Which I kind of like Witch's Mark when I have more mana open, or whatever Johann finds, so alright, let's play the more mediocre 2-drop, so if I do get in a position where I have to chump block, I'm kind of okay with it. They must have misclicked their scries or something. Alright, we got a spell stutter on top, which at this point in the game doesn't really do anything. So I think I actually would rather discard spell stutter to Witch's Mark than anything else here. Which means now I just play the mouse and the two-headed hunter. Just get this mana investment out of the way. Because there's like nothing I can spell stutter at this point in the game. 8 mana from them. Counter unless they pay 2. They're just gonna scoop them up. Alright. Find a victory there. Rough scry for our opponent, I suppose. Take a look at everything we saw here. I don't think we have many sideboarding options. They do have a big dork. Saw one solid removal spell from them. We only saw one removal spell, so I don't think I'm throwing in all my hexproof nonsense. Bunch of just solid creatures on curve. I think our deck is pretty well suited for the general meta, and this just looks like a general, normal kind of deck build. Anything in particular looking awesome? A 0-4 might be okay against all their 2-3s and stuff. They do have a lot of 2-3s. Because they have... both of these are 2-3s. This thing's a 2-3. I mean, they're 2-3s or 3-3s. And Minstrosity as well as a 3-1. A 0-4 body's good against a lot of their creatures. We might actually just be running a Lectern over like a Scarecrow guide. Because this thing does not block any of their 2-mana creatures that attack as 3-3s. Doesn't block their 3-mana 2-3s. I mean, it fixes for my otter mana, but it like is never blocking at all for us. That's probably fine. Cut the guide for a Lectern. It's a reasonable choice. Not seeing anything else that looks super obvious like that. Yeah, I'll just do that as we head into game 2. Well, I guess our opponent had something come up, or they were just over the event or over their deck or something, because they did leave the match during sideboarding. So that is going to be a victory in round 1 for us. We are at 2,000 gems as the reward, no matter what, which feels pretty decent, because I don't think that this sealed deck is super great. But if we can win just one more game, then we can be getting our full entry fee back, which I would be pretty happy about. So let's see if we can't do pretty well as we head into round number 2 now. Here we are now for round 2. We've got a top deck land number 3, but if we do, this hand is great. And those are a coward's words. When we do, this hand will be great. Hardened Scales, turn 1, so our opponent is going for it with +1/+1 counters. This could either be pretty good for me, if they don't find their +1/+1 counter synergies, then they basically just mulliganed to start the game. This could also be very bad for me, if they do have great +1/+1 synergies. We'll see what happens. Don't remember what kind of +1/+1 counter nonsense is in the set. I think most of the +1/+1 counter stuff's just pretty powerful already. Oh, they're just gonna ramp into Ariet's Whisper? Sure. Let's drop one of these Thieves then. And a Witch's Mark. I like the Quick Study more for now. And I can always pick it back up with a Tome Seeker later. And let's get our first Redcap Thief onto the board to block the Root Rider Fawn. Ground Seal. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Stops cards in graveyards from being the target of spells or abilities. That actually works against me. That's actually not good for me at all. 2 mana, draw a card, shut off my Tome Seeker is actually quite rude. Okay, we need to find land 4 for Edgewall Pack and cut in, because I don't want to just spend a treasure here, so... I'm only taking 2 damage on the crackback. I think I have time to just quick study and play land for turn after that. Beautiful. There's a Tangled Colony. That's a problem. Whenever I kill that, they're going to get a bunch of rat tokens that can then just try to kill me. They're also going to use a Werefox to make it bigger. I'm going to keep in mind that Ferocious Werefox, because if we ever have instant speed removal up, when they try to guard change, we can kill the Werefox and the creature they're trying to buff. But this is really bad for me. We might just die to a Tangled Colony here. Because now I have to shoot it for at least 3 damage, which gives them 3 1/1 rats to kill me with. Return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Cards in graveyards can't be the target. Okay, so we play a Tome Seeker without bargaining to trade into the colony, I guess. And I can hold up a Firebolt for 4 damage. I guess I could play Battle Mouse and Tome Seeker and have 2 mana up. But that doesn't really do anything for me to have 2 mana up. Yeah, I guess we just play a Tome Seeker, no bargain, hold up Firebolt. Because the 2/1 body also doesn't do anything here. Oh, I got a Mosswood Dread Knight. Mosswood Dread Knight is very, very good. 2 mana, draw a card, then 2 mana, make a 3/2, and anytime it dies, they can just draw the card again and replay the 3/2. It's just this endless threat. I'm not a huge fan of our opponent's deck building choices overall, but their card quality is very high in the sealed pool. Like, I feel like main deck Hardened Scales Ground Seal is going a little bit deep. But Tangled Colony Dread Knight can just end games regardless, and will probably be killing me here. Can play Battle Mouse plus Edgewall Pack at least. Be mana efficient. Yeah. Actually, Battle Mouse Folly is decent too. Because then I make a copy of the Battle Mouse, I trade the copy of the Battle Mouse, and then I can make another copy of Battle Mouse next turn, but I think Folly's even better on the Edgewall Pack if I can get that to stick around. If we're incredibly lucky, then our opponent plays it really safe here and just doesn't attack, but I think they're at least sending the Dread Knight because they can recast it. Alright, they're sending in everybody. Not a fan of this for me. Kind of feels like I have to do this. Even though the Dread Knight draws them another card and then comes back to the board. Dread Knight's just gross in general. Got no way to kill a Scream Puff here. I guess I could just lower the field a bit. Because I'm only stopping 1 point of damage on Dread Knight. I'm stopping 1 point on the rat as well. Technically, by blocking Dread Knight, I'm stopping 1 point of damage this turn and 3 damage next turn, though, because then they're not attacking with the Trampler next turn. But this way I'm stopping 1 this turn and 1 next turn, so it's 2 damage total there, 4 damage by stopping that, but then they draw a card, play another creature. It's not great. It's not great either way. Sleep Cursed Fairy is a fine card. It doesn't help much here. Guess at least it's mana efficient alongside the Folly, so we make another Edgewall Pack and play a tapped fairy. Best play we got. I guess I could try to cheese out an outrace here somehow. If I just attack with both Menace Dorks, hit for 6, they go to 13. Maybe if I'm insanely lucky, we somehow find 13 damage next turn. Is that like a bet at all? No attack with Dread Knight this turn. Fan of that. Fan of that, because Dread Knight could still just trade into a pack and replace itself. Yeah, I need to buy time. We gotta lose both the Edgewall packs, and then we have to just copy a fairy next turn. Please top deck a bargain card. But even if I don't top deck a bargain card, I was gonna say I could chump with the fairy, but even the fairy token comes into play tapped, so actually I can't chump with the fairy. I can play a 5/4, and that's bigger than all their creatures right now. Yeah, that can block a Dread Knight, which lets them recast it, but stops all the damage. And it definitely blocks the other creatures. Okay. Apprentice's Folly is going to die, which means that the fairy token is going to die. But it still sort of did its job, giving us a second 3/3 to trade in the thing. Oh, snap! I see what the Hardened Scales is for now. Okay, Toadstool Admirer, much worse than I thought it was, because I forgot about Hardened Scales entirely. So I suppose that's the Hardened Scales combo in their deck. If I can top deck a land, I can kill the Admirer, because they are tapped out of buffing it again. And we do top deck the land. Which, I mean, yeah, I kind of have to kill the Admirer now then. Yes. The roll onto the fairy so it can be a 4/4, because I can attack with it then untap it, which is a big deal. Okay. So they're in a solid position to attack me with a Dread Knight and a Werefox next turn. Which will be bad for me. I'll probably have to trade into the Werefox. If they draw nothing but lands for the rest of the game, theoretically we could trade Hunter into Werefox, and then our Young Hero roll makes Fairy a 4/4 that I can untap every time it attacks, and then we just have a 4/4 untapped to block the Dread Knight. So that's probably our best play with the information we have right now. We just hope that our draws are decent enough to combat whatever their draws are from here. Ooh, well, there goes the Young Hero roll, so that is no longer an option. The Fairy is not going to be a 4/4. Which means now we're trying to trade the Fairy into the Werefox and just not hitting them. So that I still have an infinite blocker for Dread Knight. My infinite blocker is just the two-headed Hunter now. I guess that's where we're at. Take one more point of damage and let them do the Dread Knight thing. Still slightly can't believe I got absolutely owned by the main deck ground seal this game. Okay, I can't get an attack in with the Fairy here and use Bolt at the same time. So we're gonna have to Bolt the Werefox, untap the Fairy to block the Oof. I think that's what's going on. I guess I can sack a rat to do that. That's actually probably worth it. Right? And Restless Spire is not a first striker on blocks. It's only a first striker on attacks, which is why I haven't been mentioning it as a blocking option. Because it can't like first strike block Dread Knight forever, but it can trade into an Oof or something later if that becomes the best play. Wait, I guess since I can bargain with the Bolt, I can spend 2 mana to do 2 damage? That's still not enough to untap Fairy twice and bolt away the Werefox. So yeah, no attacks this turn then. We spend 2 mana to untap the Fairy and 4 mana to shoot the Werefox for 3. There's a Root Rider Fawn that doesn't really change things. Send in the team. They don't have an instant in hand, that's pretty good for me. But they are just going to keep drawing cards for the rest of eternity off of this Dread Knight. We're still slowly losing to Dread Knight. Well, actually in the grand scheme of things, quickly losing to Dread Knight, but this turn doesn't look that bad. They do lose life every time they do that, and I'm at the point now that I get to start attacking with Fairy and untapping it. So maybe enough evasive damage can eventually get there. Can't send in the 5/4 though, because then it just trades into the Dread Knight and the Fawn. Which means it only kills the Fawn, basically. But my Hunter's just gone forever. That's not a thing I can do. Now that they have a 1/3, I can't attack with the 2/1 first strike either. They just had a Dread Knight I could, but... Alright. All we can do is send in the Fairy and untap it. That's it. I think I already used my Witch's Mark. Yeah, it's in my grave, so I don't need to hold this land. Ooh, top deck a 5/4 now. That's a big one. It's only a 5/4 one time because they have to sack a food to make it a 5/4, but that is still a really bad number. Opponent's going as deep as possible. Okay. Sacrifice a bunch of stuff, reanimate a bunch of stuff. And we're definitely dead. Yeah. Alright. Well, I think we are outclassed in card quality. The Dread Knight, 100% the winner of this game, even if it technically ends to Lich Knight's Conquest. This Dread Knight was like a 5/1 or something at this point. Is there any way to not die this turn? Maybe if I top deck something else to go with the stopgap. Let's see. They sacked the food, so Scavenger's just a 3-power attacker, so biggest damage is the Scream Puff for the Werefox. Let's bounce the Scream Puff because it's harder to kill. Okay, just another land means... Put a 2/1 there, put a 5/4 there, put a 3/3 there, take 4. Yeah, we're dead on board. Even if I animate my land, but maybe our opponent will not see that math. And we'll find one extra turn to potentially find some goofy lethal off of an incredible draw or something. Alright, yeah, that's dead. Okay. Our 0/4 is very good against the Dread Knight because it can block it forever without killing it. It's also very good against the Tangled Colony because it can block it forever without damaging it. So very big fan of the 0/4 in this game. Not really worried about the hardened skills that much. If they find one of their maybe 3 copies of Admire, it's going to be bad for me, but whenever they don't, it's just 1 mana do nothing. The Ground Seal, we've got 1 card that it plays really good against, but otherwise just 2 mana draw a card. The Whispers, whatever. Can't really play around the Conquest. I guess I can try to hold up Stutter. They didn't seem to have a lot of removal. Generally, we found 1 Candy Grapple, that was it. Right? Yeah, we saw 1 Candy Grapple. Don't think we're playing Water Wings. Feels like we're playing a Lectern, and that's the most exciting thing we're changing about the deck. Do you have any Exile in this deck? No. Or in this sealed pool. Unless I go double white here with Grasp of Fate, but Exile would be decent against them. Guess I go like some weird blue-white nonsense pile. I think I'm just putting in a Lectern. Anything exceptionally bad against them? Oh, Torch the Tower is actually really good against them. That's Exile for the 3/2 thing. Really didn't like the 2/1 body. I might cut like Battle Mouse then. Just keep all the beefier creatures. Slow enough matchup, I think that's fine. Alright. I think we might be able to get there with some solid draws. But obviously we are definitely starting down a game here. And our position's pretty fragile here. Like, if they start any game with one of their rares... Well, I guess it depends on the rare. If they start with Hardened Scales, we're fine. But if they start with the Mosswood Dread Knight or a Rat Colony, we are going to have to play really tight in any of those games. Those are the games I'm going to be very scared. Alright. We do have the Lectern, which is great against both of those cards, which is nice. So this is a solid opening hand against their scariest cards that we've seen. There's the Tangled Colony. Alright, Living Lectern. Do your work. Diminisher Witch also looking pretty reasonable against the Tangled Colony when I find some bargain fodder. And there's a rat for bargain fodder later. Now, they might have their +1/+1 roll here, which would be rough. If I had one more mana up... They didn't find that till one turn later. We could at least bolt the colony before that resolves and kill the other creature too, and that would have been pretty good, but... Alright, colony and the +1/+1 to ruin the Lectern. I've got a stopgap at least, but we really want to draw land for that, because obviously we don't want to bargain away the Lectern. Not the land for it. Not the land for it at all. It's worth taking another 4 to not have to sack Lectern. Probably, because Quick Study all but guarantees land 4. Because we draw 2 now and then another during our next turn. Lectern still blocks Admirer. Take another 4, go to 12 here. Try to grind out the long game. Make sure we hit our land drops by doing this right now. Okay. Fingers crossed, if we're really lucky here, they might miss a land drop as well and then not play a 4/3 trample. But they have hit every land drop. The Ariet's Whisper, okay. Again, doesn't matter much. We're not really worried about this one. A little annoying to have to make these choices here, but we can definitely find the right cards. Probably just keep all interaction here. Yeah. Let's keep all interaction here. There's a Johann himself. Well, you're very cool, but we definitely got to cast your stopgap right now. Got a lot of things to do with my mana, so we're definitely playing every land drop we can. Even though they might have a second Ariet's Whisper somewhere. One mana away from Johann plus Firebolt. Scream Puff's probably going to have to just hit us for a turn here. So we play a Johann, hold up the untapped fairy mana. Take 4 from a Scream Puff. Guess I could just bolt that Scream Puff immediately. That might have been better. It's a Ground Seal. Play the Tangled Colony. We've got the Lectern to block Colony, the Johann to block Admirer, and we kill this Scream Puff next turn. Yeah, I think I should have just Stone Splittered the Scream Puff. And played Johann the next turn, ideally. Another land on top. I do not have the mana to untap the fairy after shooting Scream Puff for 5, but that's probably fine. Let's do it while they're tapped out. If they have any rolls, they're going to be trying to put them on the Tangled Colony, and shooting a Tangled Colony for 3 is not going to be good for me. I guess I'd only have to shoot it for 2. Alright, Root Rider Fawn. Fairy Dream Thief. They can chump the Sleep Cursed Fairy once. Tough Cookie. Okay, that one's really bad for me. We probably need to Firebolt the Tough Cookie. They've got 2 food tokens out that they can start slamming us for 4 with. We got all lands, baby. Could sack my Restless Spire to scry 1. I'm not sure I'm that desperate yet. Yeah, Firebolt the Tough Cookie before they can spend any mana to activate any food. So if I try to kill this during their upkeep, they can animate 2 food off of Fawn and 5 lands. And that'll be a really bad turn for me, so let's just kill it right now. Send in the fairy. They chump with their fairy. Do I have Witch's Mark in the deck right now? I do. It is still in there. I'm going to hold 1 land at this point, I think. Okay. 4/3 Trampler has arrived. I've got the 2/5 to block that. They've got double food token to gain life against the fairy. Ooh. We don't have good blockers for a 5/4. There's where another instant speed removal spell would have come in super handy. Get the nice 2-for-1. Edgewall Pack is the next card. Well, not a super good draw. I mean, I can crack the Lectern now, make Johann a 3/6, and draw the Edgewall Pack. And then I have a 3/6 to block the 5/4. But then I have to trade a 3/3 into the Tangled Colony and deal with some rats. That might be the position I find myself in here, because if I just pass, throwing a Lectern on the colony, I'm taking 5 to Werefox, going to 3 life. This is really not a good position. But I think I gotta crack the Lectern on Johann here. So we have a reasonable blocker for Werefox. And another land on top for the next card. Johann is going to be casting Stone Cold Nothing. You do love to see it. I suppose I am at the point now where if they don't attack in a way where I have like a great block for Sleep Cursed Fairy, we probably actually just want to animate the Spire and trade a 2/1 into the colony so they only get 2 rats. Because I certainly don't need the Spire as a land at this point. So there's the 2/3 Menace Conceited Witch, and they just passed the turn. I really love to see that. Not even the Tangled Colony coming in. And Apprentice's Folly is going to be my next draw. That's going to lead into some quick lethal. Might be getting somewhere here. That's going to be a hasting 3/3 flyer. Oh, except I have to spend 1,000,000 mana to untap it. Never mind. It's still going to be a solid draw, but it's not actually speeding up our clock immediately, because I have to spend 1,000 mana to actually untap the fairy copy. It is certainly not a bad draw, though. Another land for our opponent. And they pass the turn. Find the Apprentice's Folly, and there's another... How many instant sorceries do I have left? They are just not showing up. Maybe I don't have any left or something that I just haven't been thinking of. Okay. Well, since they didn't play any more creatures... Oh, snap. I don't have the bargain fodder for this yet, so I should maybe just not play it. Because that's right, if I don't draw into the bargain fodder for this, then I don't keep the clones. Which I guess means I get the Menace to work. Oh, they could double buff Admirer. They block with Werefox and Admirer, double buff it. Alright, well, I probably should have just sandbagged this thing. Because this just makes it harder for them to attack in for the next 2 turns, but then it doesn't do anything after that. Yeah, I lied. This was actually a pretty bad draw here. I just forgot about the need to bargain to stop it from sacking our stuff. Untap for 2. I have to untap 4 times to get it to actually untap. 1, 2, 3. I need 8 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have exactly enough to do that next turn to hit them for 6. Oh, thank God. Okay, never mind. I was going to say, if they attacked in with a Werefox or an Admirer here, we actually did find great value off of the token. Okay. Attacking with just Colony means it's not great value, but it's fine. Can I survive a Crackback with 3 blockers? Let's see. 3/6 on a 5/4, 3/3 chump on a 6/6, 3/3 on a 1/3. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. I survive with 2 life with 3 blockers up. We are drawing into Torch the Tower now. So, if I spend all my mana to untap this 3/3 and hit them for 6, and then stop on my upkeep to bargain away Apprentice's Folly before Chapter 3, I hit them for 6, and they're dead. So if they miss on this draw step, we win the game. Oh, snap, I don't have enough blue mana to untap the fairy. Do I survive with 2 blockers then? I've got enough mana for that. Block there, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There, block there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do. Okay. So we need to survive with 2 blockers up, actually. I guess I can actually torch the tower during their turn instead of in my upkeep because of Johan's ability. So I can torch the Conceited Witch, and then I definitely survive with just 2 blockers up. Should I do that before their draw step? Play around hexproof tricks or stuff? Guess so. I can also wait to do it during their turn to play around... What, another roll token or something going onto their board? Feels like I just do this now and we just see what happens. Bargain into a Tome Seeker? Sure. Let's see what their last draw is. Last draw of the game no matter what, basically. Because if it's a removal spell, they kill me with it. It's a Dread Knight. So they're dead. Lock there. Lock there. Take not lethal and kill them with flyers. Six damage in the sky. Gonna be game 3, baby. We only got 8 minutes to try to win game 3. But we did turn that one around. Alright, Johan really underperformed for a while there, finding nothing, but then Johan saved our butts, finding us the bargain for the Apprentice's Folly. And actually, like, crazily enough, because we needed that extra damage and that extra blocker early there, maybe if I hadn't just misplayed out the Folly immediately without bargain material, we wouldn't have killed them fast enough. Maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. I mean, the misplay played out well for us in the end. Don't know if it was necessary to misplay to win that game, but it's possible. Alright, we're running it back. We saw all the exact same cards we saw the first time, basically. Sure did. Yeah. Run up back and cross those fingers, heading into game 3 of round 2. This is not a keepable hand. And this is gonna have to work. Up the witch here. Kind of feels like we have to. Guess I could drop a land and hope Witch's Mark takes us the distance there. The rough part here is that their best cards are both 2 mana, which means Spell Stutter is going to be too late. Right? If they drop one of the 2 mana rares, we're probably, yeah. Probably just losing, because then I have to Firebolt it, which isn't good. And I can't Spell Stutter it on the draw. I think if they had the 3-2, they would have just slammed it down here. So let's stop some damage, get this vermin out of here, and then we have to Firebolt the colony and deal with 2 rats. Go from there. The way they've been playing does make me feel like they might main phase a roll onto the colony rather than hold it up as an instant, so I'm just going to pass here so that we might be able to get a 2-for-1 killing the colony. My god, really? Well, never mind. I mean, I guess we could have held Stutter for Dread Knight, and then I kill the colony and they have a 3-2 vermin and 3 rats on the board. And we still basically probably lose. I guess if they don't have removal for Johan, Johan was the best draw in our deck as a blocker for Dread Knight forever. Gotta make them have it here. Well, they have an Agathis champion. First Agathis champion we've seen all match. Only removal that I remember was, I think I need to just guarantee land 6 here. The only removal I remember was like just exile target creature, I think. That's what they had. I might be misremembering. That was last round. Somebody had the 4 mana exile creature. Did they have 1 Candy Grapple or something? If they had 1 Candy Grapple, they could already have killed Johan. I don't remember exactly what their removal was. But I'm pretty sure the removal that we've seen game 1, game 2 would just be enough to kill Johann without any damage on the Johann. Hardened Scales back at it again, doing literally nothing. Cut-in isn't even... I mean, if they're out of removal, we block there and cut in their next biggest creature. These are going to have to be good enough, I think. There's not much better we can find. Cut-in on Scavenger's pretty good. Not a terrible turn for us. Although, because I'm taking this rat damage over and over, we're just super dead. Yeah, I cut in a Scavenger, take another 2. Guess we quick study to make Dragon big enough to kill Champion. Sorry, quick study. Kind of need a 5/7. I guess I don't have to do the discard and draw off of the Witch's Mark, but it basically casts the quick study for free at that point. Or I put quick study in grave and put 2 cards in my hand. That's exactly what I'd be doing if I spent 3 on quick study. No, you've got the follow through after that too? What do you have now? They have the Candy Grapple this time? Or are they just putting us down to 2? The Lich Knight's Conquest. Okay. Well, they drew all their rares game 3. If I were Prophetic, we could have countered the Dread Knight, I guess, but that certainly doesn't change the outcome of this game. And that's Magic, baby. It's going to be 1-1 for this qualifier play-in event. Rough round, round 2. I feel like we did a lot of solid things gameplay-wise, and I think for the quality of a sealed pool that we had, we built a pretty great deck out of it, but just got trounced by a much higher quality sealed pool in the end. And 1-1 it's gonna be. Another look at the deck, looking over things, over and underperformers. Not really. Everything kind of did what I thought it would. Johann was kind of an underperformer for a while, but finding that clutch torch the tower at the end of game 2 was massive in round 2 there, so Johann kind of really made up for it there. Archive Dragon was great, even if we did die in the end. Just getting the gigantic body there was awesome. Yep, the removal was removal, the card draw was card draw, everything kind of did about what we expected. Spell Stutter was pretty bad because Spell Stutter on the draw, again, way worse than Spell Stutter on the play, where they get to just resolve their 2-mana rare underneath it. So maybe I could have like sided out the Spell Stutter since we knew we were on the draw in that round, but I'm definitely happy with the Lectern over the Scarecrow Guide sideboard that we did there. Yeah, maybe there were a tiny bit of things that we could have done sideboarding gameplay-wise, but doesn't feel like anything that changes the outcome of that round in the end, and that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. We are going to be 1-1 for the second qualifier play-in best-of-3 event, and that's just going to end the qualifier play-in runs. Unfortunately, did not make it into the qualifier weekend this month, but our luck had to catch up with us eventually. We've been getting so many trophy runs in Wilds of Eldraine drafts. It's been pretty absurd, so luck does catch up to us and we get some rough qualifier play-in runs in the end. But we still got 2,000 gems back out of here. Still fought pretty hard for what we had available in the sealed pool. I'm still proud of what I managed to accomplish there, at least stealing one game away from those very, very solid rares in round 2. But that's just how it goes sometimes. You gotta get hit with some rough lows to feel the really high highs when you are on those great win streaks. So 1-1, not where we'd like to be, but it is where today's video is gonna end. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.